Today's show is all about Instagram, Falcons fans. Kinda. Welcome into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. I'm sure you're wondering, Moose, where on earth are you going with that bold claim? Well, it has everything to do with what popped up on Instagram last night, what I put out on my Instagram last night, and ultimately why one Instagram post could lead David Njoku to the Atlanta Falcons in 2026 free agency. Now, in case you are unaware of what I'm talking about, that's totally fine. I'm here to navigate you through all of this information. David Njoku put out a very long and heartfelt Instagram post yesterday, thanking the city of Cleveland for the beginning of his career, developing him into a man, thanking all of his family and his friends who he has made along the way in Cleveland, but at the very end, says it's time to find a new home. So, obviously, David Njoku is not going to re-sign with the Cleveland Browns. He will test the free agency market, and now everybody, including all the talking heads at ESPN and NFL insiders, claim his odds-on favorite to be his next team is the Dirty Birds. So, speaking of Instagram, I broke that David Njoku news on our Instagram in the drive-thru of Taco Bell yesterday. Don't judge me. It's my comfort food. By the way, speaking of Falcons Today IG, that is our handle, and we currently have 704 Instagram followers. So if you want to make that 800, if you want to get us to that benchmark, do me a favor, head on over to the IG and click that follow button for more Atlanta Falcons content off of YouTube. Here's what the actual quote said, by the way. I don't want to just leave it at David Njoku said this and then do nothing else. So here's what his exact post was all about. Cleveland, first off, I love you. These 9 years have been a beautiful journey. I am so grateful for all the memories that we've shared together. Thank you to the Haslams, Andrew Berry, and the whole Browns organization for everything. To all of my teammates I shared the battle with, I almost said the bottle, with, I am so grateful for you guys. The time for me to find a new home has come, and all I can think of is just the gratefulness in my heart. The city of Cleveland will forever be home. Very nice, exactly what you would expect him to say. But obviously, with Harold Fannin now in Cleveland as their tight end one, he's testing the market. He still wants to play. He wants another contract, and he realizes it's probably not going to be with the Cleveland Browns. And believe it or not, if you go and look at the odds-on favorites to land David Njoku in free agency, you would see the Falcons' name right at the very tippy top. Now, Njoku did face a couple of injuries last year, so his numbers are definitely lower than what we would like to see, but don't get it twisted. He's not even 30 years old yet. He's got plenty of gas left in the tank. I firmly believe that. He did have 4 touchdowns, by the way, in a limited sample size. So he's averaging a touchdown every 3 games. That's pretty good for a tight end right there. And by the way, Kyle Pitts only had 5 touchdowns total. And if you just take a look at the last couple of years, David Njoku is a player that will be utilized as a red zone threat for the Atlanta Falcons. He will. He can stretch the field. He can block far better than Kyle Pitts can. And don't worry, we'll touch on Kyle Pitts later on in this episode. I would have no problem securing David Njoku on this football team. Is it the David Njoku from 2023? No, probably not. But you don't have to pay him like the David Njoku from 2023. He's no longer the number one, meaning his price tag goes significantly down, and NFL teams know that. He's no longer worth the $13.5 million that he's currently getting paid or got paid this last year. He's probably somewhere in that ballpark of $8 to $10 million, and I think it's a little bit closer to $8 million. But why Atlanta? Why would he want to come to Atlanta, and why would Atlanta be the odds-on favorite to get him? Well, he played under Stefanski for 6 seasons. That's the most obvious reason. He's very familiar with the type of offense that KS wants to run. And speaking of which, that offensive running, he can have a bigger role as a pure tight end. Pure tight end. Kyle Pitts is not a pure tight end. He's almost like a hybrid tight end, but plays more like a wide receiver. He likes to stretch out wide, likes to play out of the slot. So David Njoku, he's going to get his hand in that three-point stance. He's going to block. He's going to do all of the things that the nitty-gritty stuff about being a tight end, he'll do all of that. And the Falcons have the cap space to make it work. They currently are projected to have $26.5 million in cap, and that's before any of the cuts have been made. So that number could easily go over $30 million. It makes too much sense to go out and sign to sign, look at that, Freudian slip, to sign David Njoku to a 2-year, $18 million contract, and that's probably where I'd put him at. That's exactly where I'd put him at. So if you want David Njoku as an Atlanta Falcon, do me a big old favor. Get down to the comment section down below. Type your Y for yes. Type your N for no. I do want him as an Atlanta Falcon. If he doesn't come to the Dirty Birds, I'm not going to be unbelievably distraught. There are obviously bigger names and bigger talents than David Njoku in free agency, but this would be a very, very good B to B plus signing for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, coming up next, what about Kyle Pitts? Because I'm sure you're wondering to yourself, and you've probably already commented because a lot of you just comment without watching the entire video, and that's fine too. But Kyle Pitts, I don't think has to worry about this scenario because I do believe the Falcons have an opportunity to retain him, but not in the long term. You'll see what I mean here coming up in just a little bit. Before that, though, I got to tell you about my friends over at Factor Meals. If you want to eat better, but you have zero time and zero energy to make it happen, Factor comes into play. It doesn't ask you to meal prep or to follow recipes. It just removes the entire problem. 2 minutes, real food, done. Choose from 100 rotating weekly meals with lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats. The stuff you'd make if you had the time. Plus, they got a brand new Muscle Pro collection that supports strength and recovery, and trust me, I could need all of that right now. You get meals that fit your goals and your schedule with healthier eating, calorie management, and of course, more protein. So head to factormeals.com/FalconsChat50 off and use code FalconsChat50 off to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Offer is only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor. So Kyle Pitts obviously is a big question mark in all of this, and I firmly am aware of that. I understand the narrative surrounding Kyle Pitts right now. I'm not here to tell you that Kyle Pitts is going to get a contract with the Falcons or that he's 100% certain going to test free agency. There is a lot of unknowns right now, and that's why everybody's asking the same question. Everybody wants to know what's going to happen with Kyle Pitts, and I think keeping both David Njoku and Kyle Pitts can happen, but not in the way that you expect. I'm not saying that Kyle Pitts is going to get a 4-year, 3-year contract extension with the Dirty Birds. But what do we know about the free agency situation so far with Pitts? He'll be seeking a multi-year deal, as all players should, worth up to $11 to $14 million per year. I very seldomly see a world where Kyle Pitts gets over $15 million a year, but there's a couple people in the Chat Sports office that think it could happen. I think it's right in the ballpark of $11 to $14 million per year. His agent, David Mulgeta, absolutely hates the franchise tag for good reason. You know, a lot of agents don't like it because they don't get that little kickback of all the money that their agent or their client, I should say, would get in that next big contract. And the franchise tag would cost the Atlanta Falcons $15.88 million. So you could look at that and go, well, Moose, if we're not willing to give him $11 to $14 million a year, why would we pay him $15.8 million for 1 year? Because it's about the length of the contract. And the starting rate for Kyle Pitts is going to be somewhere around 3 years to $39 million a year. That's not even mentioning what his guarantees would be. And if you took that baseline, right, let's just take that very starting rate at 3 years, 39. That's a low starting point, in my opinion. He'll get more than that, but if you just look at the starting point compared to the highest paid tight ends a year, that would put him right below David Njoku at 5th or 6th at this point. It'd be it'd be right below Mark Andrews. But like I said, it'll be higher than that. He'll probably get somewhere at $14 million. I could see a world where it's 3 years, $42 million, which would put him at 5th for highest paid tight end in the NFL. And that's exactly what I'm sure David Mulgeta and Kyle Pitts are going to be asking for. Top 5 tight end money. Here's the problem. I'm not willing to give Kyle Pitts top 5 tight end money. There was way too much inconsistency in his game through the first couple of years with the Atlanta Falcons. And I realize that Pitts played a very excellent game down the stretch of the season. There were unreal performances highlighted by the Tampa Bay game where he had 10 receptions for 166 yards, 3 touchdowns. I'm not going to discredit that. That was an unbelievable performance. But My plan for Kyle Pitts is as follows. I'd franchise tag him first. That's the first thing I do. I would forfeit the $15.8 million against the cap in 2026 in order to retain him for the 2026 season. Then I would trade Kyle Pitts at the deadline because somebody, like I told you, is going to want Kyle Pitts. So they would handedly get you or give you a third-round pick for Kyle Pitts at the trade deadline, especially if he's playing well. And if he's really playing well, I mean, if he's really like lighting it up, he could get a second. Maybe. That's kind of wishful thinking, but it's probably between a third and a fourth-round pick right now for Kyle Pitts. But if you're wondering, well, Moose, if your plan is to get David Njoku, and then you're going to trade Kyle Pitts, why? That's only one tight end. You have to have a backup plan for it. Oh, no, I do. Eli Stowers. Draft Eli Stowers in the third round of the 2026 draft. Wait a minute, Moose, you're keeping 3 tight ends? Yeah, the Falcons kept 4 last year, didn't they? So why wouldn't you have Kyle Pitts, David Njoku, Eli Stowers, and Charlie Warner as your 4 tight ends? I mean, you did 4 tight ends last year. You might as well make the first 3 really damn good. And here's the great thing. Once you trade Kyle Pitts, you can have Eli Stowers slide into that role, and he's learned from both Pitts in the receiving game, and he's learned from David Njoku in the tight end game, and boom, you've got yourself your next franchise tight end. And you're also looking at a potential pass-catching group to start the season with Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, David Njoku, Eli Stowers, and for right now, Darnell Mooney. I think Darnell is going to get cut, and I do believe the Atlanta Falcons could end up drafting a wide receiver as well. But for now, we'll keep the assumption that Darnell Mooney is on the roster because he does have 1 more year on his contract. But look at those 6. That's damn good. That's damn good. And Kevin Stefanski said himself, he loves the tight end position. It's one of his favorites on the football field. He loves multiple tight end sets. He loves running 12-man personnel, 13-man personnel. He's going to make sure that the tight end position is secure. And here's the good news. Kyle Pitts doesn't even have to play like a traditional tight end. You can line him primarily out of the slot or out wide and turn him into a wide receiver. There you go. Problem solved. I just fixed the Atlanta Falcons tight end problem. I'm going to toot my own horn for a sec. Toot, toot. I play, but you get my point. Like, this is something that the Falcons could absolutely explore, and it wouldn't cost them nearly as much as you would think. Free agency, though, is one of my favorite times of the year. That and the draft are 2 of my favorite off-season events in all of sports. That's not even counting football, but I love free agency and I love the draft. So 27 days away and counting. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon because we will be live for free agency every single day here on the channel. As always, Falcons fans, my name is Moose. That's all I got for you on this episode. I'll be back a little bit later with more news and rumors surrounding your Dirty Birds. Rise up and be cool.